There is a really interesting and rich episode at the end of our Torah portion this week that I want to kind of alert you to as a coming attraction for this upcoming Shabbat. The tribes of Reuven and Gad, and eventually they're joined by half of the tribe of Manasseh, approach Moshe with the proposition they want to have their tribal inheritance be in Transjordan, where the land is particularly suitable for their large herds that they have. They don't want to be apportioned some territory in the heart of Eretz Yisrael. And Moshe initially gets very angry. He says, this is just what your parents wanted to do. They didn't want to enter Eretz Yisrael. It's the sin of the spies all over again in this next generation. And then the tribes approach Moshe. They, no. We didn't have that in mind. Of course we're going to fight with alongside our brothers, but we just after the fighting's done, we want to go back and have our tribal portion in Transjordan. Now there are at least two different ways of understanding this interaction. It could be that their intentions were quite shameful, and Moshe's anger kind of forces them to come back with Plan B, with a new proposition, and so Moshe was quite perceptive in this reading. He understood what they were up to no good, and they're not really clarifying. They're really retreating and backtracking, and they offer a much more honorable proposition afterwards. It's also possible, though, and I think this year I'm reading it more in this way, that they know that their intention all along was honorable. Of course, they intended to join with the other tribes in the conquest of Eretz Yisrael, but their request was that ultimately they wanted a tribal portion of Eretz Yisrael. Moshe misunderstood them, assumed the worst about them, and they are really clarifying that they had very noble intentions all along. In this reading, the crux then of the entire episode is in verse 16. Vayishu elav. They stepped up to Moshe and they then went on to clarify their noble intentions. They explained how Moshe was mistaken, that Vayishu elav is an echo of Yigash elav Yehuda. Okay, all the way back in Genesis, in the eponymous Parashat Vayigash, Yehuda approaches Yosef and confronts him. And in Genesis, Yehuda's confrontation is an act of boldness, in that he's willing to make himself vulnerable, but also he's confronting Yosef, the viceroy of Egypt, in a very, very bold and dramatic way. Here, Vayishu elav, the boldness is the boldness to that's entailed, the courage that's entailed in staying in relationship and debate when you've been misunderstood, when somebody's assumed the worst about you, and Vayishu elav, they're going to come back to Moshe, not an angry confrontation, but with that tenacious courage to remain in the relationship when you've been misunderstood, when someone's assumed the worst about you, and to work things through, to negotiate and to explain oneself, and that's a tremendous act of courage and faith on the part of these tribes, that they were willing to talk to Moshe, someone as powerful as Moshe, who misunderstood them in such a horrific way that they stayed in that relationship. I think that's actually a very inspiring example, a really heroic example that can easily be overlooked as we have a very long Torah portion tomorrow. So I looking forward to seeing you over the course of Shabbat and hearing these words with you, hearing this inspiring story, and sharing a wonderful Shabbat together with this really great community. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom.